Welcome to this session on Python code snippets. Remember, if you find this tutorial useful, give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Today what we'll be looking at is the coding statement. We're going to be looking at 4 critical things for our code snippets in this tutorial. We're going to have a look at our first code statement, writing and saving and running a program. We're going to talk about a technical term called sequence, and we're going to understand what syntax errors are and how we can interpret an error message. Now, things you'll need for this tutorial is an install of the Python language 3.8x or above. So you at least need Python 3. Now, Python 3 language is different to Python 2 language. So it's really important that you have the latest install of Python. And you can download that from the python.org. If you're looking for a very good IDE, which is an integrated development environment, I suggest using PyCharm from JetBrains, and that'll be the IDE I'll be working with. This gives me a nice graphical user interface to work with rather than working in the bash terminal or in a plain text editor. So just remember, we're going to be gathering some information on our first code statement, writing and saving and running a program, sequence, and understanding what are a syntax error. This is a beginner's tutorial, so there's a lot of introduction to concepts. So if you're looking for more advancement, I would suggest that you listen to the developer principles and concepts that I talk about during this tutorial. So let's get underway by opening up Python. So I've opened up my version of PyCharm edu. There are different versions of PyCharm you can download, and there's also more current versions than the one I'm currently using. But the underlying principles are all the same. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new project. So we're going to click on Create Project, and it's going to ask us where we would like to store our project. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the folder, go to my desktop, and I'm going to create a new folder. This is the same for the PC version as well. So when you create a new folder, I'm going to call this Python snippets. So I'm going to put all my programs into this folder. I will cover folder naming conventions later in a future tutorial. Otherwise, you can look around my YouTube channels because I do use them in other programming languages. So once we've created the folder, I can then click on Open. This tells PyCharm to save everything into this folder on my desktop, and you'll be able to find all your work inside this folder. The next thing I'm going to do is click on this down arrow here. You see that we're using a new environment. It also says that we're going to be using the Python 3.8 code. It's really important that you're using Python 3 here, because in the installs you can still find instances of Python 2, and this is a slightly different syntax, and Python 3 code will not run in Python 2. So once you've made sure that's correct, you can click on Create. Now PyCharm will open a very simplistic screen. Now once you are here, we can click on the down arrow here, and you can see there is a folder that's been created inside our existing Python snippets. We don't need to worry about that folder at the moment, but I do want to create a new file. So what I'm going to do now is write my very first Python file. So I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to go New, and then I'm going to go down to Python file. Notice there is File and there's Python file. We need a Python file because then it's going to save it with a .py extension, and we know what's happening, and the program will be able to associate it with the Python interpreter. Now what we need to do is give our file a name. I'm going to put in here first code statement. So that's the name of this file, and it's going to have, when I press enter, a .py extension. So you can see up here Python's automatically created .py. Inside my Python snippets folder you can also see first code statement.py, and there's nothing in there at the moment. Now we're going to create a very first statement, but I want to give you a developer principle to start with. It's also a good idea to put internal comments in your program. It's a good programming habit, and if you're not doing it at the moment, I suggest you start doing it, especially if you want to look down to be a commercial programmer in the future. Now we create a comment by using the hash symbol, and then we're going to use the word developer, and then we're going to put our name in. And therefore at the top of my program now you can actually see who the developer is, who wrote this code. It's a very good habit that you do put your name inside your code. Once we've done that, we can actually start our very first statement. While the top line, line 1, is a statement, it's not executed by the interpreter. What we'd like to do is start by printing our name. So let's start with the word print. You'll see there is a helper that comes up with PyCharm to give you the structure of the syntax. So what we want to do, so if you need more help you can actually read these bulletins, but what we're going to do is start with print, bracket, Then we're going to use a double quote, and then we're going to put our name in there. And then at the end of the statement, we're just going to press enter. Now this is known as a print statement. It's a one-line of code, and it starts at the front and goes to the end, and there's no semicolon on the end. Some programming languages use a semicolon like JavaScript and C, but in Python we don't actually use a semicolon. What we do is we use a return line, which is an end of line marker. So here we have our first statement of code. The statement of code is to print. You'll notice it starts with print, and then inside the brackets, which is the print command, it gives us the text that it would like to print. So it's saying print, quote, Leon Marsden. So let's run this now. What we can do is go Command S and save it. When we go Command S, it will then place this inside our file. And if I preview the file, you can actually see the line of code here. This is still a plain text document. To run it, all I need to do is either hit the play here, and it will open up a window down the bottom with our line being executed. I can right mouse click and go run first code statement, and it will run the code down here. Or after you've run the first instance, you can just hit the play button down here to run your code. Now with your first statement of code, we need to also look at what happens with errors. If I put a space in and go print welcome to Python and press enter, you'll notice there's a little red line that comes up underneath the P. Notice the only difference between this top line and bottom line is this one space at the front. You notice also it's given us a little line on the end, this little red indicator, to show that there's a problem with this line of code. If I try to run the line of code, down the bottom here, it says, okay, there's a problem with the file. It says at line 4, and it's at the print statement. Now the error is an indentation error, unexpected indent. So what you need to do is go look at line 4, around this print statement, and look for an unexpected indent. And as you can see, yep, here's the unexpected indent. So when I go delete, it now lines up correctly on the wall here, and the error message is gone. So when we run the code now, you can see Leon Marsden, welcome to Python. Once again, we can save this by going Command S. Now you notice with Python, it will automatically save. What does that mean? I can actually go print, this will save when I finish this statement, and press enter. And if I bring my code line back over, you can see automatically it's updated. So by using PyCharm, it will automatically save for you. So let's run this program once more to make sure there's no errors. As you can see, you notice that the return space here and the space at the end is not interpreted in the output, because the output is print, then print, then print. So the output is doing that. Now we know our work has been automatically saved, so let's close our program. Let's go File and go Close Project. And when we come back to the start of PyCharm, you'll notice there's a folder and the desktop Python snippets. If I double click this folder, it opens up the project, and you can see our first code statement program is here. If I have another programming file in here, I can just double click it and it'll open up on the right hand side here. To create another program file, we just go right mouse click, go new, and Python file. Then we can go new second program. We can put in a developer comment, or if I wanted to, I could copy and paste it from the previous one. I could even put in the date, and you can enter in the date that you made the program. Now we know this automatically saves, so once again I can just close the Python program down, this time just closing the app. I can then exit PyCharm if needed, but when I want to go back to my code, I double click this and it opens up the previous projects. If I close down the projects, once again to open them, I just double click them over here on the left and I can open them up. I can also reorder them for preference. Okay, now what I'd like to do is set you a little task. 5 things about me. What I'd like you to do is just pause the video and just make a little program that prints out to the screen the answer to the following 5 questions. The first question is choice of soft drink, favorite type of food, have you had any broken bones, favorite instrument, and what birth city, which city were you born in. So what I'd like you to do is do some outputs for these, and then once you finish doing that, continue playing the video and you can see my answers, and let's see how you go. Okay, here is my solution. So I'm going to right mouse click, go new and Python file, and I'm going to call this one about me. I'm going to put in a developer comment and put my name. So you'd have your first print statement is print choice of drink, and I put Coke. I wonder if yours is the same. The second print statement was a favourite type of food. Mine is Mexican. Have I broken a bone? Yes, I've broken my arm. My favourite instrument is a guitar, and my birth city was Adelaide in Australia. Now to run my program, all I have to do is hit play, and you notice down the bottom in my output, the results are there. So I hope you've been successful in your 5 things about me and using the print statement. Today we've looked at our first code statement. We've written some statements and lines of code. We've also saved and run the programs. We've had a look at sequence. We've output information in order, and we'll look at more of this in future tutorials. And we've understood some basic syntax errors. So if you need more help, have a look around my YouTube channel. Also, if you are Googling, remember you need to use the Python 3 language. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for other useful tutorials on Python.